You've decided you want to move to Florida. Well, why Cape Coral? We're going to talk about that next. Hey everybody, my name's Craig Cunha. I am a local real estate agent right here in Southwest Florida. And if you are looking for more information on what it's like to live, play, eat, sleep, or buy real estate on the Gulf Coast, then this is the channel for you. So go ahead and subscribe and even comment below to make sure that you see all the videos as they come out. I'm getting calls from people every day asking what it's like to move to Florida and what they can expect when they do. If you've got a question that you want answered, you've got to call, text, or email because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast. All right, so moving to Cape Coral has a lot of good reasons to be here. There's going to be a couple negative ones. We'll talk about those. But just wait all the way through the list to make sure there's nothing you're missing, because I do get a lot of questions about life here now, especially in light of the COVID stuff going on across the country. I come to find that almost every state has many more challenges than Florida. So some of my conversations lately are, hey, are we going to be able to go out for dinner? What's it like trying to get into a place to hang out with your friends and have a couple drinks? Well, the good news is it's open. Everything's open, 100% capacity. However, what's nice is that many of the restaurants have separated their tables more, so you're not as jammed in as normal. This video that you're seeing, we just took this last night, went to the Steelers game, sat at the boathouse with this amazing view, and as you can see, plenty of people there. Lots of people just wanting to take in that environment. There was actually live music being played during the game, and we took in the views, and we also had this amazing sunset to go with it. So, if you're looking for outdoor entertainment, you want to take in those salt air breezes, and you want to get a nice meal with other people around, the boathouse might be a great option for you. Now, something you may not know about Cape Coral, we are one of the largest cities in Florida. We have 120 square miles of space to build on, and much of it is still undeveloped. What's unique about it, though, is that it's mostly residential. This is not a big commercial place. This isn't a place with a lot of buildings. This is mostly houses, mostly subdivisions. So if you're looking to be in that kind of a setup, then Cape Coral might be for you. Because it is a residential area, we also have a lot of seasonal rental properties. We have a lot of investors come in to get those homes and rent them out. So if you are one of those people that's looking to invest in property, Cape Coral will have many more options for you to look at many different price levels. It's still affordable for most folks. You're still going to be looking in the low 200s, maybe mid 200,000 range now for a 3-bed, 2-bath home. There are exceptions, obviously, but that is for newer construction that's going to give you all the kind of amenities you may be looking for. Because there are a lot of rentals here, also keep in mind that you could have a neighbor that has a home that sits vacant for a good part of the year, or you might even be next to somebody that has a VRBO or Airbnb situation, so you could have visitors coming and going more often than you may like. The only way to avoid that in Cape Coral is to get into a community. We do have a few gated communities that will have rules against how many times you can rent for the year. So if you are opposed to having that potential issue of having people in and out of the home, you might want to consider looking into a gated community. Now, these gated communities, we only have a handful of them here, but what is nice is most all of the utilities are underground. So yes, you will drive through Cape Coral, you'll see a bunch of wires in the air, and you'll be thinking, whoever thought of doing that? It is a little unsightly. You will forget about it over time, but it is something that you cannot escape unless you're in one of those gated communities. Now remember, gated communities still have a homeowners association, so there's a lot of rules that you're going to follow, whether you want to or not, or you'll be fined. And if you don't pay the fines, they attach to the property, and then you'll have to deal with it whenever you sell the property. So there's no way of getting around those rules. Something you can do in Cape Coral is you can live on a golf course and not have to be in a gated community. Yeah, believe it or not. There is a home, I found this particular home online this morning looking at Coral Oaks Golf Club. Now, the reason why I know Coral Oaks well is that they have a league that they do, a 9-hole league in the summertime. And there's probably about 50 to 70 guys that show up for this. They also have a women's league too. But you pay your weekly amount to get in the game. You can then put additional money in for skins and pins, as they call it. But it's a great way to network with some of your neighbors there. Most of the residential lots here in Cape Coral are 80 feet by 120 feet. So you'll have a decent amount of space to build your home on. You can also purchase neighboring sites to that property and gate it off, strap them together, whatever you want to do. So you could literally have a 1 acre property situated kind of right in the middle of one of these subdivisions. But in the southeast and southwest, it's getting more and more difficult because that's where the majority of the building has been done previously. The areas that would offer those opportunities would more be towards the northeast and northwest. Now, another thing you'll notice about Cape Coral is we don't really have a lot of sidewalks. Some roads have them, some don't. Some have it on one side, some have it on both sides. I don't know why, no rhyme or reason to it, but this is the way it is. So if you're somebody that likes to get out and walk the neighborhood, you may find yourself on the street more times than you like. Now, I did mention about the HOAs having their rules. Well, just because you aren't in a community and have those rules doesn't mean you can get away with everything. There's still a code enforcement division here in the city of Cape Coral. So if you're somebody that likes to collect cars and keep them up on blocks, you're not going to be able to. If you're somebody that likes to collect boats and have them all over the backyard, you're not going to be able to. There's limits on everything. If you do have a boat, you can store it on your property. You have to put it as far back into the property as you can, up against the property lines. Otherwise, you'll get a visit, you'll potentially get a fine, and they will continue to check on you to make sure that you have the boat situated the way you should have it. Now, something that I've talked about previously that's really important, so pay attention to this because it's become an issue recently. Don't know why, but these canals here, yes, it's wonderful to have them. It's great for activities like fishing and kayaking and boating and all that, but it can also be very dangerous. So until you learn the roads and where you're going, especially at night, use your GPS, follow the speed limits. We had a couple cars end up in canals this past 2 weeks, and yes, it is driver error. I don't know what exactly happened. I didn't look too far into the whole situation, but it can happen. Pay attention to where you're going, get familiar with your neighborhood, and again, just follow the speed limits. Now, you can figure that Cape Coral does have a lot of waterfront dining because we have all this water around us. Even if you don't do it right here in Cape Coral, we have a lot of opportunities for the same thing very nearby. If you go just to the north, you've got Punta Gorda. There's a place called Lashley's Crab House that sits right on the water. TT's is right on the water. Obviously, Fisherman's Village, we've talked about that a few times. Another wonderful place to get a meal on the water. If you want to go south, there's a number of places along Fort Myers Beach and all the way down into Naples. So if you like waterfront dining, you'll have a lot of places to explore. And again, be able to enjoy this beautiful weather as you have your meal. One thing that is a little bit more difficult when you are in Cape Coral is the commute to a highway. It's at least 20 to 30 minutes just to get to I-75. You can do it a number of different ways. There's 2 bridges, obviously, that go east and west, take you back into, as my other half calls it, the fort, which is Fort Myers. So you'll go back in there, and then you still have another 15 or so minutes to get to I-75, depending on traffic. So plan that in and understand if you're going to live in Cape Coral, I-75 is not going to be readily available to you. Now, if you're a boater, there are many boating opportunities. There are plenty of sales places, a lot of resold boats, obviously. So if you want to start with a used boat, we have consignment places. We have many people that will sell on Facebook, but there's also boat clubs. So you have an initiation fee up front. It's roughly about $5,000, and then you pay a monthly amount depending on what type of boat you want. But that will allow you to just reserve that boat 4 times instead of having to actually own one and store one and maintain one. There's also a number of rental places that if you're looking for, say, a 20-foot Hurricane, you can rent one of these for roughly $300 for the day. That's for a full day, plus the gas, and that'll run you roughly $60 to $80 in gas, depending on how far you go. Here on the Gulf side of things, you'll notice that some of our water sports are a little different than the East Coast. We don't have the waves and the rip currents and all that they have on the other coast. So it is probably a little more pleasant for people that just want some casual boating. If you're out there to fish and everything, you're not going to be rocking all the time. But you're not going to be surfing on this side either, unless you happen to have a storm go by that pushes some swells in. So it is calmer water on this coast. So if that's what you're looking for, then hey, this might be the area for you. Here in Cape Coral, we have numerous sports programs, and that's for every age group. So if you have a young family and you're looking for a place to put them in sports, we have just about every one of them covered here. The city runs the program. It's very well run. You'll get to know all your neighbors, and your kids are going to have a lot of fun. And if you're an adult that likes to take part in those things, there's plenty of those going on here as well. We have co-ed as well as men's and ladies leagues for things like softball. There's bowling leagues. I mentioned the golf league. Lots of stuff going on. So if you're somebody that's active and you want to be part of these activities, just look up on capecoral.net, and that will tell you all the different programs in there that you can get enrolled in. Not only do we have all those sports activities for everyone, but we also have the Eagle Skate Park, a BMX track where they actually have races that are run regionally at that BMX track. And we have Sunsplash, which is a huge water park. Lots of people go there. They have a lazy river that you jump on an inner tube and you float around it. Some large slides that could scare you if you're somebody that doesn't like the heights, but lots of things to do in Cape Coral. There's also, it used to be called Greenwells. I want to say it's Gator Mike's now, but they even put a zip line course in there along with their go-karts. And you may remember me mentioning there is one beach here in Cape Coral. It's not a great beach, but it is a wonderfully sandy place if you just want to get out in the sun, have a little place for the kids to play. My son likes to go there and do his wakeboarding, but it is a small beach, maybe 300 yards, right next to the boathouse. The view is awesome, but it's just not your conventional beach with a lot of space. Another thing about Cape Coral is there are not any types of malls or outlets here in Cape Coral. We have some of the big box stores like the BJ's and the Sam's Club. We do not have Costco. We do not have, again, any kind of a mall. You have to go into the fort to find that. And if you want to go to outlets, we've got numerous options, but they're going to be at least 30 to 45 minutes away. So you've got the Tanger outlets that are out towards Sanibel. Again, that's going to be about a 30 to 40 minute drive depending on traffic. We also have what's known as GCTC, Gulf Coast Town Center. And yes, it gets difficult to continually say that whole thing. So GCTC is the way you're going to end up saying it. Lots of shops there. You'll also have Coconut Point. That's a whole nother set of outlets. Miramar outlets off of Corkscrew down in Estero. And then if you go north towards Bradenton, up in that area, there's a whole nother set of outlets. So if you're a shopper, lots of opportunities here. We have a number of different schools that you can look into that are public as well as charter systems. There are a couple private schools that are over in Fort Myers. There are no colleges in Cape Coral. You do have to go into Fort Myers if you're going to attend any of those kinds of programs. But overall, the school system is rated pretty well. I will attach a link down below that will allow you to research more about the different schools before you decide where you want to live. In Cape Coral, most jobs are service related. So if you're somebody that's looking for a manufacturing type of a job or something outside of a service industry, you're most likely not going to find it in Cape Coral. So if you're looking at finding a job when you get to the area, you may want to start ahead of time to see what's even offered here and how that would fit into your skill sets. A great place to start is go to Indeed.com. Many of our employers use that site to put their jobs out there. It'll get you familiar with what's available here and allow you to start planning ahead of time. In Cape Coral, we have a strong police presence. For our size, over 100,000 people. We're getting close to 200,000 people now. And for cities that size in Florida, we're the second safest one in the entire state. Part of it's because of our police presence. They take their cars home. They're constantly patrolling. So if you're somebody that likes to break the law or speed, this may not be the place for you. In Cape Coral, mass transit is lacking. So if you don't have a car or a motorcycle or are able to ride a bicycle a long distance, then Cape Coral may not be for you. There is a bus line that'll run over towards the east side. It doesn't get that far into the city, and if it does, it's going to be on a very limited schedule. So keep that in mind if you're considering Cape Coral. And lastly, we have a number of mobile businesses that run here because the weather's so great. So if you're looking for something like setting up a mobile pet grooming company or anything along those lines, we have those. We have the mobile car detailing companies. We have food trucks here, so lots of different ways to stay mobile with your business. If that's something that you're interested in, Cape Coral could also work for you. Just be careful to check on the rules and regulations about where you can park those vehicles, because many commercial vehicles can't be parked in driveways and they can't be parked within a community. Well, that's a little bit about Cape Coral. If you want to know more what it's like to live in or around Cape Coral or Fort Myers, go ahead and check one of these other videos. And if you have any questions in particular that I can help with, you've got to call, text, or email, because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.